prepared to be wrong, you will never come up with anything original. If you're not prepared to be wrong. And by the time they get to be adults, most kids have lost that capacity. They have become frightened of being wrong. We stigmatize mistakes. And we're now running national education systems where mistakes are the worst thing you can make. And the result is that we are educating people out of their creative capacities.
Oh, hello there. I didn't see you walk in. Let us begin. Sir Ken Robinson argues using a string of logic that is satisfactory to many of his viewers that school's effect on a child's creativity is devastating. But not all schools are the same. Some schools have incredibly traditional structure and rules, while others have much more open classrooms and approach learning as a means of self-discovery for the child. Is Sir Ken Robinson claiming that the different types of priming both of these schools provide has the same effect on a child's creativity? We here at AP Psychology Period 1 search for scientific evidence to find out. The Torts test of creative thinking is a set of tasks and questions that gauge one's capacity for divergent thinking and problem solving. It was developed by Ellis Paul Torrens, an American psychologist. The test used to focus on 4 scales across a variety of tasks: fluency, originality, abstractness of titles, elaboration, and resistance to premature closure. The test also includes 3 types of tasks: unusual uses, verbal tasks using nonverbal stimuli, and nonverbal tasks.
We also had the privilege and pleasure of speaking with Dr. Jennifer Miller, a developmental psychologist at the Illinois Institute of Technology. She provided us insight into how closely related one's environment and creativity development are intertwined. First off, she mentions that creativity levels are not constant. In fact, operant conditioning plays a large role in its maintenance. If a child isn't encouraged to think creatively, their creativity competence will likely decrease. Interestingly enough, the schedule of reinforcement of a child's creativity is also a key player. Children given variable schedules of reinforcement tend to display more creativity. Dr. Miller also stressed that the reactivity of the child's environment, or the richness of the child's social surroundings, if you will, are paramount to the child's creativity as well.
For our experiment, we studied the effect of operant conditioning on children's creativity in grades 1, 2, and 3 in a Montessori school. Consent was received from children's parents by providing a consent form to schools. We first randomly assigned participating students to either the control group or to one of the 2 treatment groups, with each researcher testing only one group. Using one participant at a time per researcher, the participant was then asked a series of questions that have right answers, but could also have creative answers. For example, one question was, how can one get to California? This question allowed for correct, though typical answers such as by train or plane, as well as for more creative responses such as by dragon or by crawling. If the participant was from the control group, the researchers said nothing in response to the participant's answers. If the participant was from group 2, the participant was praised for all answers given and clearly pushed to think creatively.
Maybe, again, try to think something maybe outside of the box. How else can we make orange?
If the participant was from group 3, the participant was praised for correct answers and told they were wrong for all incorrect or creative answers. I'm going to ask you 3 questions, okay?
Okay.
How do you make orange?
I don't know.
Okay, that's the wrong answer. All participants were then asked the same 3 questions. Which birds can't fly? How can you make orange? And how can you get to California? How do you make orange?
Red and yellow, I think.
That's the right answer. How do you get to California?
By plane.
That's the right answer.
All right, great. So I'm going to ask you 3 questions, all right?
Easy questions.
Those are up for you to decide, but there's going to be 3 questions, okay? Great. So first off, what kind of birds can't fly?
Penguins and I don't know.
No, that's good. Can you maybe think of some other answer, something else?
Ostriches.
Ostriches, great. How can you get to California?
By plane, by a car,
All right. How about anything else? Anything that
by
you
boat.
by boat?
If you're coming from Texas.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. How can you make orange?
The color orange? Oh, orange. Let's see. Light red with dark pink.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Anything else? How can you make orange?
That's it.
That's it?
That's all I can think
You
of.
positive? All right, awesome. Those are great answers. Thank you so much.
Each participant was then administered an incomplete line drawing that comes from the Torts test of creative thinking and was then given 5 minutes to complete the drawing. We didn't watch the students perform the task as to ensure the students' anonymity, but were present with the participants. We then used the guidelines for scoring the incomplete line drawing as specified by the Torts test of creative thinking, judging for 6 characteristics: originality, elaboration, resistance to premature closure, fluency, abstractness of a title, and other considerations, such as humor, colorfulness of imagery, and so on. Each drawing was given a score between 1 and 20 by each researcher, and the average of the 3 scores was taken to give the final score of each drawing.
After reinforcing creative or wrong answers, we then gathered all the participants and gave them the drawing portion of our study. After 5 minutes of drawing, we told them to stop, title their work, and put down what grade they were in. Then, we gathered all the drawings and began to grade them based off the Torts test grading scale. To show an example of the grading system, this drawing, which was done by a 2nd grader, received a 15 out of 20 on creativity. It received points for resisting premature closure, which is when the arbitrary shape is not immediately closed off in the drawing. This picture also includes strong abstractness in the title, fluency, and originality. This drawing was done by a 3rd grader, and it received an 8 out of 20. The reason for this grade is based off the immediate closure of the drawing, the lack of originality, and abstractness. This was one of the top scoring drawings of our study. It received a 19 out of 20. If you notice the title, The Light of the Summer Solstice, this 3rd grader demonstrates not only abstractness and storyline, but also imagery and originality. With the drawing, there is fluency, colorfulness, and motion. This is an example of a strong creative mind, and it only faults with the line that closes the figure off from the rest of the picture. After tallying the grades, we divided the drawings into their groups of reinforcement, and made this graph to represent our findings. Our results were very surprising. Group 1, which was the control group, had an average score of 14. Group 2, which was pushed for creativity, had an average score of 13.4. Group 3, which was pushed for the right answer, had an average score of 14.4. We believe that there are many factors that affected our results. One of these factors could be that Group 3 felt the pressure to be extra creative, potentially thinking that creativity was the right answer. However, Group 2 might have scored lower on the drawing test since they did not feel the pressure of needing to be right, and therefore not working as hard to create the most elaborate creative picture. We have many possible sources of error. Our sample size was small and contained only 15 students, and therefore the data could be statistically insignificant. Another factor is that our population only consisted of Montessori students, who had been taught in a creativity-fostering environment. We expect that our results would have shown significant differences if the Montessori students' results were compared against the results of students from a more traditional school. Also, the grading of the drawing tests were very subjective due to being based off our own opinions, and could have inaccurately graded the tests compared to how a trained professional would have graded the tests. However, we can conclude just from the questioning portion of our study that there is an immediate impact on a child's creativity from the teaching style they receive. The children feared being wrong when they were told that there was a right answer, and therefore they only wanted to provide the right answers to the questions, even if they had a more creative answer. We believe that operant conditioning could have a long-term effect on children's creativity if creativity is continually reinforced or punished in the classroom. Thank you. Until next time.